Hello, welcome to this additional episode of Gunners Town podcast. And today, and this is going to be a regular thing, I'm joined by my old friends, my old comrades from back in the day when we used to do a Suburban Gooners podcast. It's Ben Leader,
Hello,
aka
mate.
at Ben Leader, because he couldn't think of a more original name, so he just went with his actual name. You all right?
Yes, mate. I haven't got much of an imagination, really. I've let the side down with that, haven't I?
You don't need to. You don't need to. It's all good. And Steve Othen, who's had like Oath 12 and Steve Othen HR and all sorts of nonsense as his Twitter handle. What is it? Is it still Steve Othen that HR?
It's Steve Oven HR because Steve Oven is such a common name that someone's already got it.
Somebody already has it.
Yeah.
There's only one Steve
That's
Oaken.
outrageous. Right, lads. As I said, we are going to talk to people on the internet from now on a Monday night, and this is the first one that we're doing, just like old times. Just like old times, the first episode that we do of this new Gunners Town podcast is us talking about how absolutely amazing Arsenal were this weekend. So, who wants to kick off?
Can I just say something
about
before
what
we
happened
begin?
this weekend?
Can I just say one thing?
Yes.
Hey, party people, over 12 here, and welcome to the Suburban Gooner podcast.
It's not that anymore. It's not that, Steve.
We got to say
Not
party
that.
people.
That was part of it. That was
Yeah.
part
Can't
of
say
it.
party people. I can't have that.
I'm playing Vine.
This
Do
is
you
a
remember
new
that?
world. So, were you partying on Saturday, Steve, when you found out the result?
No.
No, I wasn't.
I was saying to Chris Ben a bit earlier how football's supposed to be the thing that cheers us all up at the moment, and we brought it back to keep the public happy. It's not really working, is it?
No. It's been the complete opposite, hasn't it? And it just brings up all those horrible feelings and emotions that it used to do. And I feel like we've been hit with like 5 years of maybe slight exaggeration, 10 years of grief in like 2 games.
The absolute banter of Arsenal Football Club. Like when, do you know what? I put on Twitter about like 2 minutes before they scored, because I watched it on a BT Sport on like a slight delay. I put on like Draw FC as a tweet.
Yeah.
And then I was just scrolling through my Twitter feed, and I saw like Arsenal tweeted like goal 2-1 Mopé, and I just like, oh my god, we can't even get that. We're not even drawing anymore.
I think the worst thing
just
is
failing.
it's not a surprise. It wasn't like, how did this happen? It was like almost expected. It was, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what's mental though? Like I said this to so for those people listening to this next 25 minutes of incoherent rambling from the three of us, I have Ben as my therapy. So every time we are absolutely terrible, I phone up Ben about 10 minutes after. I go for a walk around the block and I phone up Ben, and the first thing I do is just laugh down the phone. And he knows that's where he knows it's me. And I was just laughing down the phone, but deep down, I was just cheesed off because, and I'm going to swear here because I don't care, Brighton are shit. Like we've played them the last 5 times. We've played them every time. I've gone, they're really pants.
Yeah.
How have we lost that? But I don't know. Ben, talk to me. Give me some more therapy.
Yeah, we've only got 25 minutes, Chris. I don't know. I don't really know. It's like, how deep do you want to get into it, right? It's like you're watching a game, and I was watching it with my brother, and you're sort of flicking through Twitter and you're looking at people's tweets. And I know we've done all of this before, like living that life of instant reaction. You think, don't do it. But people are saying things, and then you're thinking, well, we're just looking at micro issues. It's still the same issues, right? Like we don't have a midfield. We can't deliver balls to our forwards, but we slag the forwards off. Like, don't get me wrong, I love slagging the forwards off. But there's so many more issues. Like, do you know what I mean? Where do you start? Where do you break it down?
Well, why don't we start, Steve, with the midfield? Talk to me about our midfield, please. Go.
What midfield?
The greatest
the shadow of midfield.
Yeah.
That is Guendouzi and Ceballos.
I was kind of thinking about this I think it was actually Saturday, where the sad thing is the list of players that you would keep, and I'm not just talking midfield, the list of players that you would keep is far shorter than the list of players that you'd get rid of, right? Like far, far shorter. It's not like half and half. It is far, far shorter.
Go on, give us your list. Give us your list.
Let's
What are
do
people
the
that I'd
lists.
keep?
Yeah. Because then we can judge you.
Prior to him passing away, I would have kept Leno.
R.I.P.
I was thinking.
All right, Ben. All right, Ben.
I would have kept Leno. If you ignore the contract situation, I'd keep Aubameyang, but I don't think you can ignore the contract situation. And then you get into the realms of like the people you would keep. I'd keep Tierney. I think he's going to come good without a doubt. Well, he hasn't been terrible. I think he will be a good asset. I would keep Saka. God, when he hit the bar, I mean, that could have been so different. I'd keep Martinelli. And then I'm not sure.
I wouldn't, Ben. Would you keep Bellerin minus his absolutely destroyed hamstrings?
You're backing me into a corner. Because this is difficult, right? Because this is where, like, the element of where we've kind of got older and watched football. Like, I kind of want people in the team that I like, and obviously are decent. But the thing is, he's losing it a little bit, isn't he?
Broken.
Like,
He's broken.
He's a little bit broken, and it's a bit sad. And some of the stories about, I think we spoke about on, if you could probably replay our podcast and we could cover this, but talking about injuries that he's had and he's played through, and we actually, as a fan base, didn't realise how injured he actually was. And like you said, he's pretty much broken now. But if we were like being harsh and playing a bit of Championship Manager, I wouldn't be like getting rid of him at this stage. Like, there's bigger things that we need to do. And if it's true about the small budget, lol, we've got other things to be doing and worrying about.
In the real world, you have to keep him.
Yeah, in the real world, yeah.
But you talk about him being broken. I remember a few years ago we played Chelsea, and Christian, when me and Luke sit, it's basically on the halfway line behind the dugouts.
Yeah.
And Pedro had been sent through, and I just turned to Luke and I said, "It's all right, Bellerin to get him," and he did. If that was to happen now, I wouldn't be so confident that he would catch him.
Someone at the weekend outran him, didn't they? And it was like he was running in toffee or something. It was ridiculous how slow he was, which is worrying.
He was in toffee with his beautifully manicured hair.
He's so fit, though, isn't he?
Dreaming of the trees that he won't be saving because
that's the funniest thing now, isn't it? Because we are costing the environment as well as our mental health.
We are actually killing the planet as a football.
So anyway, you made me do my list. So we're talking like proper FIFA Championship Manager, whatever you want to do. This is like crazy world.
Oh, right, okay.
Unreal. Who would you keep?
I think everyone you've mentioned. Did you say Pepe?
No, I didn't, but that's a good shout.
Can we actually talk about the one nice thing from the weekend? Yeah. Pepe, that goal.
Goal.
Yeah, that was pretty nice.
Anyway, that's the nice thing. Carry on.
It's a shame it was ruined by everything else.
I don't know. It's like you look at it, don't you, and you feel really sorry for Arteta because we don't really even know what his style is. We don't know. Like, we assume, and we're probably quite rightly to assume that it's going to be like Pep's style of football, right? But we don't even know what it looks like. And he's getting into this weird realm where he kind of needs to get 3 points. You know, when you say like a striker needs one off his arse, like Arteta needs 3 points, regardless of what style he wants to play. But do you know what I mean? Part of you's like, well, I want to see what style of football he plays, but we're like, are we 10th, 9th?
10th. Crystal Palace are 2 points clear of us, having won.
Burnley have a game in hand, but
that's tonight. At the time of us recording, they're playing Man City. So I'm about to say, so that should be 3 points for City, but it would just be the mega lol bants if Burnley get some sort of victory and drop us down into 11th. Yeah. And it's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it's almost like we can laugh because we've hit the 40-point mark, so statistically we shouldn't get relegated. So that's the
it's 3-0 to City at the moment, so fingers crossed.
Who scored?
Is it?
Foden again and Mahrez twice. But Chris, I've used exactly that. I've used exactly that on Sunday. I was talking to my stepdad, who's a Chelsea fan. He was giving me stick. Obviously, Giroud got their winner, make it even better. And I said, it's all right. We've got 40 points.
Yeah, we're fine. We're
Fine. Do you know what though? This is the depressing thing. I've been thinking about this lately. I've been thinking about the fact that, well, Chelsea had that season a few years ago under Mourinho where all the players just rebelled, and then the next season they were fine. But the difference is that was just Chelsea players just giving up because they had Jose Mourinho just killing them, and then the problem that we've got is that, as you just said, Steve, and Ben, in terms of the types of players that you would want to keep in our squad. So imagine if we just rebooted the season, like they just said, nah, it's all cancelled, don't worry about it, come back in September. Like I'd still be looking at this team thinking there are so many of them that I just want like chucked in a dumpster and set the dumpster on fire and then roll it down into a hill, and then it just goes off the edges of the cliffs of Dover and just into the sea. And that's like, and there's like loads of players like David Luiz and Guendouzi with their hair on fire, like hanging on.
Or as we used to say, Chris, we set them on fire, we get the fire extinguisher and hit them with it.
And then drop an anvil on them.
Yeah. I mean, if we talk in squads and squad depth, I don't know if this is a unpopular opinion. I think I'd keep Guendouzi because he's a kid, he's young.
What?
I just think you just
absolutely ruined Ben's evening.
Yeah,
explain yourself.
Mission accomplished. I just think in most squads he would have hardly seen the first team, right? He'd have been someone in the background who was learning from decent players in his position, and he'd come in for a game every now and then. And actually, when we saw him every now and then, everyone was excited about his energy. Everyone was excited, about him as a future prospect. The trouble is, because of where we are right now, he is having to play every minute. Yeah,
that's the wife.
He's having to play every minute of every game, which he's not ready for. No. He's not ready for at all. And I'm not saying like if we can get some money for him, that I'd be gutted if he left, because if we need to raise money, then we have to do that, right? Yeah. But I'm just saying if we're talking about squad depth, I would have no problem with him being a squad player who's developing.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. It's the issue, isn't it? It's our issue that we always put. Even like you can talk about Arsene, or you can talk about Fabregas, or you can talk about Van Persie. Like we seem to pin our hopes on one person, one player, one thing. It's like never a collective. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like talking about earlier, Chris, you were saying Chelsea, like they've always kind of had like 3 or 4 sort of semi-decent players like in the squad, like. Probably better than semi-decent, that is harsh, but you know what I mean. So it's like if they're missing one, someone else performs. But you'd rip a sort of a Van Persie out of our team thinking about a certain era, we're a mess. You take a Cest out, we're a mess. You take an Arsene out, we're a mess. It's like you're looking at Raul now and you're thinking like, oops.
Yeah.
Oops. And especially all the talk with the dodgy deals and this, obviously, I don't know if you want to talk about this, if we've got enough time, all this like David Luiz stuff and this Cedric stuff. It's pretty bad.
It's an utter mess, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, again, at the time of us talking, we literally don't even know if by Friday this week we will even have some players on our roster, so to speak, because they have to agree their deals. I mean, can you imagine earning 6-figure salaries at Arsenal and not even be able to work out whether or not you should have human beings that should be playing with you for another 3 weeks?
We might play.
Like, what?
Call us in.
Like, I mean, it's absolutely mental. Like people joke, like all of us as lads who just watch the Arsenal, will watch any kind of football. We all joke about, get your boots on and stuff like that. But it literally feels like that at the moment, like with this COVID stuff. But I don't know. The Suarez thing is just going to end up being an absolute car crash, and it's just going to be more megalobants of the Arsenal current era. I mean, what do you actually think for the rest of this season? Are both of you guys a bit like me? I'll be honest with you. Like, I'm going to watch it on Thursday against Southampton, and I'm going to get annoyed at the absolute paucity of our midfield, and I'm going to phone up Ben afterwards and say, how has this happened for like the 3rd season in a row that an absolutely destroyed Danny Ings has just absolutely nutmegged 3 people and bashed one in the top corner for the 4th goal as we've lost 4-1 to a budget Southampton team? Like, how... I've forgotten where I'm going. I'm just ranting.
You're asking us about
His head's
how we're
gone.
gonna. Yeah, head's gone.
His
You're
head's
asking us how we're gonna kind of deal with the rest of the season personally.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
before we talk about that, can you show us the laugh that you do when you phone Ben? Because I'm just imagining it's a crazy psychopath, like
no,
happy
it's just
but not happy laugh.
I'll lift the mic up so you don't. Yeah, that is a bit crazy, psycho.
Oh, I was disappointed. I wanted to hear like happiness, but anger, but pain.
Actual
You want to
tears.
hear
Sadness.
happiness and the undertone of just like dark, like morose undertones, don't
Yeah,
you?
yeah. So
Anyway, the rest of this season.
my plan before these last two games was just not really to worry about the rest of the season. Let's get some, hopefully a few more points on the board, obviously, but get some minutes, get Arteta, a few games under his belt, and push on the FA Cup hopefully, and finish as best we can. That was my plan. But the last two games have just made me really sad and angry anyway, even though I was already in that place. So I don't know, maybe I was kidding myself that it was okay to feel like that when actually it's not. We're not going to be able to be okay with it, are we?
Ben.
Absolutely love that. But again, it's this weird thing, isn't it? Like seasons they're not trials. Like it's a season. Like,
Yeah.
like
That's where we are, Ben.
you need to do something with it, lads. I don't know. I just think he's got to win. I think he's just got to win. Like even if it's like some scabby points, just get 3 points, build up some momentum, try and lift the vibe. Like I don't know what the players are thinking. They must be like just.
Yeah, that is it. That is literally it. Can you imagine being like Aubameyang or Saka or Pepe or Martinelli and like just turning around and looking over his shoulder and seeing Ceballos and Guendouzi either sideways pass it or backwards pass it
Or falling over.
Guendouzi's playing right wing. Like Pepe's just hugging the touchline. He's like, why is Guendouzi gone on the outside of me? Like what is he? Why is he not in centre midfield? Is that not his job? It's just, it's baffling. It's baffling. And then the defence as well. I mean, we can all cry about the defence, but like, there's no one left, is there? Leno's gone.
No.
Luis suspended. Mari. Ben, talk to me about Mari. You love Mari, don't you?
Ha 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 ha.
Why don't you love Mari?
I think again. I think he's would be like a good option as like a third choice. Like I'm just being picky. Like I just want some good players in our team.
Can we have some good
See,
players?
that's where we are as well. I'm being picky. I want some good players. That's not picky. That's not picky.
No, but you know what I mean? But then the thing is, you can start. I don't want to start talking like overly picking on individuals because we could do it. We could pick on people that aren't performing, but it's a collective. It's just not there yet. And like to take it back, so I'm not just being horrible. Like Arteta's had no luck at all. Like, do you know what I mean? Obviously, this whole sort of pandemic. I don't know if you've heard about it, but then he's lost all these players. Like he came into Man City with a plan to talk about Man City, but he had an idea. Let's give it a go. Let's see if it works. Like again, on paper, you're looking at it a little bit and thinking, like, why is Aubameyang out wide? Like, I get it. Like, you look at massive European teams, they don't have that sort of player as like a big centre forward, like as their main centre forward. But we're not in a position to be putting our best player out wide. But then he tries to come with this plan. 2-3 players or whatever it was drop out, and it's a mess. And he's just left with this utter, like their heads are gone, haven't they? They're gone.
Arteta must be wondering what's coming next. Like he must be thinking, well, we're going to play Southampton on Thursday, and I'm going to play Aubameyang through the centre, and like the Ultimate Warrior is just going to come in and clothesline him, and he'll be out for the rest of the season. Because that's what it feels like at the moment, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It feels like literally whatever he does, someone's getting injured, someone's getting sent off, someone's being sniped from one of the sort of plastic crowd characters that they create in this new fake and ridiculous environment.
Yeah.
Steve, give us some optimism. You're the most optimistic of all of us.
That is true.
Can you give me some optimism?
Bring the joy, Steve. Bring us the joy.
I'm
Bring us the joy. Roll the joy.
I'm not feeling optimistic. I'm just wondering who Arteta calls to give his after the game.
I think he calls Stan or Raul.
He just must go home and just put his head in his hands and like, what? Like you just, like you say, the pandemic, the 100-day break, whatever it was, and you've got all these lists of teams of all these players that are going to be available. Yet we've got lists of all these players that aren't going to be available.
How has it even happened?
Do you know what probably happened to Arteta at the weekend? Like he got home from a weary day travelling to Brighton, and he opened his front door, and he took one step in, and a rake just hit him in the face. That's what I imagined, and he's just like, ugh.
Yeah.
So
Right,
what do you think
Southampton,
about?
Jack, go on.
Let's talk about Southampton then.
Yeah, go on.
On Thursday.
Go, Chris, talk about it. What team are you picking? What are you trying to do? What is your thinking?
I mean, I think we just have to go the flying V or something and just play like 9 defenders, like 4 defensive midfielders, just literally just funnel it all in. But
for was
who's
it Dunk?
left?
Was it Dunk that scored?
Yeah.
It looked like we were trying the flying V. The amount of people that are in the 6-yard box ready to go. It looked like we were about to launch the flying V, but the ball just went the wrong way.
Yeah.
I mean,
going back to a blog that I wrote a long time ago, Chris. If we'd have had someone on the post, I think that'd have been cleared out.
That drives me mad. It's like literally like football 101, and we've zonal marked for about 5 years, and it just hasn't worked. And nobody's just given someone a nudge and gone, should we just try this revolutionary thing that's been done for decades and stick people on the post and just lump it off the line?
And maybe leave someone on the halfway line. I know we've got a few fast players. Leave someone on the halfway line. Just hoof it and hope. No, just give it straight back to them. They can come back. It's fine.
Do you know what drives me mad? It feels like we have to score absolutely sublime goals. Like Pepe's goal was fantastic, but the goals that we concede are the most budget goals ever. Every week, every single week. And you just know that Southampton are going to have an absolute field day, because all they'll do is they'll let us have the ball for periods, but they'll draw us in and then just hit us. And what's going to be our back? What's going to be our back five? You've got Martinez in goal. You've got
Macy's just in front.
Macy, Dejan Iliev or whatever it is. He's going to play Mustafi and Holding again, which I think, Holding, you've got to start asking questions, and Mustafi, the questions have been asked, and we've got the most horrendous answers ever as a result. I think Tierney will play. I think, again, he'll go Guendouzi and Ceballos. I genuinely think just ship Ceballos back and say, let's just see if Ainsley, lackadaisical Maitland-Niles can just do something in central midfield. I genuinely am at that point because I don't know who else is left if Torreira's not fit.
Would you not play the 3 of them?
What? Ceballos, Maitland-Niles and Guendouzi. So then who plays in front of that? What, is it a 4-3-3?
Yeah, and you could have Saka left, Pepe right, and Aubameyang up front.
Oh, he's gone all guns blazing. He's not messing about.
Come on then, Ben. Talk.
Well, is Ozu alive?
No. He hasn't been alive. He hasn't been alive.
If he's alive and he's not playing some sort of video game, I think you've kind of got to get him back into the team because we're not creating anything. Like, this creation is zero. And the thing is, like, on paper, like in FIFA, Saka, Aubameyang and Pepe would be absolutely outrageous, but our midfield is completely unable to, like, feed them. Like, there was no chances from Brighton. Like, Pepe was getting the ball and then everyone was like running away from him. It was like proper like year 6 football, wasn't it? But he's in all the wrong spaces at all the time, and I would just be worried how they would get the ball to him.
Yeah. Do you know what? To use that analogy, so to use the FIFA analogy, this Arsenal team literally doesn't know where the triangle button is, like the through ball. They just don't know it. It's like they have got no clue. Ceballos and Guendouzi, they've absolutely nailed the X pass to each other or to back to centre halves. But as soon as they pick the ball up, it's like that triangle button has been surgically removed, has been, again, set on fire, fired into the sun, and then the particles have just slowly drizzled down. That's it. Because there's no vision in this team.
I think
there's no forward pass. There's no ball in behind.
If you ever look back, I think Guendouzi put a few nice balls out wide. Admittedly, probably 3 in like 195 minutes, whatever it was.
Steve, is that glue? Are you slipping glue?
Yeah. That's what you have to do. That's what you have to do.
I thought that was glue stick.
But no, going back, if we can get Ozil in, I'd have him in over one of those two. I'd have Nathan Miles sitting because that's what he's supposed to do. One of the other two and Ozil.
Yeah, I think you've got if he's not done something too dodgy, I think you've got to get him back in. Like regardless of how we feel about him, his future, his contract, but at the moment, I think they need something. And as I say that, I feel slightly ill, like craving for Mesut Ozil, but they need something.
I was talking to someone about this the other day. The thing is, the sad truth is, in my opinion, if you stuck Mesut Ozil back into a team full of awesome players, he wouldn't look out of place.
No,
You stick him in a team that is just all over the place, no defense, and then you start going, why isn't he running back? Why isn't he tackling? Why isn't he doing that? Because nobody else is doing it, and you need everyone to be doing it in our team at the moment. Yeah. But you put him back into a team of superstars, and he would fit right in, I think.
Yeah, I think that is a fair shout, and it just shows us how this team has just completely declined so rapidly in 2 years. Like 2 years ago, Arsene Wenger was on his way out, and we were all like, yeah, no, it's a new world, fine. But I think we all looked at the team that we had and thought, that's a half-decent team. But in the space of 2 years, we've gone from that's a half-decent team. We were playing awful, but we could still see that it was good players. And we're now looking at it and going, how many of these players do we have any kind of emotional connection to? How many of these players are anything above like where we are, which is a mid-table team? That's scary. And what's scarier is the money that they're on, because naturally, if you're at Arsenal, you're on big cash, and the money that they're on is just laughable, really. And
it's scary, isn't it?
And then you've got situations like, we still don't know the situation with Saka, who's on his $3,000 a week, and you've got people like Socrates, who is like just waddling around London Colney on his $80,000 a week. Like,
love it. On his Segway.
On his Segway. just doing like little sort of donuts and circles because he can't get anywhere because his legs are that buggered.
I know what you mean though. Over the last however many years, it feels like a lifetime. We've been saying we're only two or three players away from really challenging. We're a lot further away than that now.
Yeah, we're 23 players away.
Right, so we're going to do a prediction. We always do predictions.
Yeah, let's do this. Let's wrap up today's by talking about prediction and how the absolute wonder that will be Southampton away, which I think we haven't beaten them in 700 years either, at St Mary's. So let's go for a nice positive prediction there then, Ben.
2-1 Southampton.
Steve.
2-0 the Gooners.
Nice.
It's breaking up.
I'm going 4-1 Southampton. Let's really.
I cannot believe neither of you gave us a clean sheet.
Not a joke.
There's no clean sheets to be had here, my friend. There are no clean sheets to be had here. And on that note, we're coming towards the end of our half an hour, I'm afraid. So this has been amazing, as always. We're going to do this every single week. Myself, Steve, and Ben. It's going to be 30 minutes of laughing, gallows humour at Arsenal. That's what we can promise you. You won't get much seriousness here. The other Gunners Town podcast that we'll do on a Wednesday or a Thursday that will be out on Thursday or Friday, and then we'll do that. But if you're looking for a bit of light humour, then that's where you got it here. From myself, from Steve, and from Ben. Gents, thank you very much for joining me.
Cheers, guys.
And we will see you all next time.